Hey traders, so welcome to the weekly market analysis for Sharks Trading Academy. And if you haven't, please join our Discord channel. And the link will be located over here in the YouTube description. You can just click onto the link tree over here, and you can actually have access to all of our social media platforms. So simply click the Discord channel, and you can actually gain access to our Discord. All right. So over here we have the first pair where we'll be talking about the euro dollar. All right. So over here we have a supply zone where prices are currently in, and we can also identify two potential buying areas. So the first being over here, and the second would be over here, right? So you can see that there is a very nice structure and order flow over here. Prices are delivering downwards, right? And we have a break of structure here, and we have another break of structure over here. So we want to be a seller over here and potential buys over here as well, right? Because if prices were to distribute over here into these areas and accumulate over here, we can look for a move like this. So you can catch sells into buys, right? And that is the general trade idea that we have. So if you want prices to actually move towards this area, you will need a breakdown of here, right? You will need a break of structure over here, then come back up towards this potential supply zone or refined area, right? To give you more distribution to break down, bringing you to prices on inside of here, right? So that is the general approach to this euro dollar trade over here. So what you want to see would be the creation of liquidity inside of this level, right? You want to see a move up and maybe a double top just to get liquidated, right? Then a final push up, liquidating all of these areas. A strong shift showing that prices wants to move lower, right? With this strong shift down, leaving behind imbalances as well as order blocks, prices are showing us that it wants to go lower, all right? And when we see this break of structure, do we just sell here? No, because we understand that we are potentially buying over here as well, all right? So imagine if you sell here upon the breakout, with your stop loss above the high, you wouldn't get a very nice risk to reward, right? You will get maybe 1:0.6, and that is not ideal. So you always want to wait for a pullback, right? So this is a break of structure, leaving behind a potential unmitigated area. And as prices comes back up towards this level, you will put a sell, right? Stop loss above the high over here and aim for this demand zone. And over here you have a 1:3 all of a sudden, right? So we are not certain if prices are going to hold or break over here, and we will not do any guessing work, right? We will wait for prices to come back towards this level and then see if we get some sort of accumulation, right? Maybe something like this, then a breakout, and then potentially buy over here. So it's the same thing. It's the accumulation over here. We look for buys to where? Do we just aim for the skies? No, we don't aim for the skies, right? We'll look to see if we have refined areas inside of here, right? If we have supply zones inside of here, then there is a light tendency that prices will come back into this level, potentially distributing inside of here, breaking down into these areas. So do you expect prices to actually break down with one move? Of course not, right? You can understand that we have a trend line here, which will be serves as liquidity. So can you imagine already that prices are likely to come back down, bounce over here, then liquidate people over here before breaking down. So when you see movements like this, right, we have a break of structure over here, and now you are looking to sell, all right? But then again, you don't sell here, okay? You don't sell here, you stop loss over here, right? You have 1:0, maybe 0.5, okay? So then again, once you see a break of structure, look for the supply zones over here, okay? You have this buy to sell move that is likely to leave behind imbalances as well as order block, okay? On whatever time frame they're looking at, maybe 30 minutes, 15 minutes, right? So look for the pullback into this area, give you some sort of a distribution towards this area. And this will be the trade setup for the euro dollar. That we'll be looking at will be the Aussie dollar. So you can see that we have a bearish structure being delivered, right? And we are looking for supply zones for us to get engaged into. And we're going to participate in the market if we see a tap into supply zones, right? And on a 1 hour time frame, we can see that there isn't any unmitigated areas. So you can see this is the buy to sell move that has been mitigated, as well as this buy to sell move has been mitigated, right? So you have to go up to the higher time frame over here, and you can see that we have a supply zone over here that hasn't been mitigated yet. And you can also identify a an imbalance over here. So this makes us believe that prices are likely to move into this area, right? Filling the imbalance, maybe bouncing off a little before tapping into our supply zone. So this would be the approach for Aussie dollar. And where are we looking for? We are looking to aim this area, right? This is the new liquidity area. Okay, so you can always see that prices are aiming for this liquidity as long as bearish price action structure is being delivered to you. So we are looking to liquidate this area, right? So maybe prices are going to move down, break this level, creating equal highs, tapping into this supply, then give us some sort of a distribution area over here. So inside of here, you can actually look for retail price action or even smart money concepts. So you can actually look for, okay, so again, this supply zone over here, you can look for a rising wedge, rising channel, okay, then a breakdown, and then a pullback. So this is similar to a Wyckoff distribution, right? As prices moves up, creates equal highs, breaks down, trapping traders, creating liquidity above and below, right? So this makes people want to sell, right? And it moves up, liquidating these areas and stopping people over here. Then a true breakdown, shifting, lifting behind order blocks over here for us to tap into and sell, right? So if you understand Wyckoff distribution, you understand that this is a UT, right? So you have the buying climax, automatic rally, we have the ST, signs of weakness, the UT over here. And as prices makes its way down, can prices breaks out higher before breaking down? Yes, it's definitely possible because you want to create the, prices can create the UTED, right? We have a breakdown creating this SOW in B, right? We have the signs of weakness in phase B. Then if prices breaks out over here, this creates the UTED, right? The upthrust after distribution. Then if we see a real breakdown over here, then we can look for sells, right? Into these areas over here. So let me just draw it. So we can look for liquidity over here. So this is the trade idea for Aussie dollar. So over here, I'll be talking about Bitcoin, and you can see that prices are creating liquidity in and out of these areas, right? So what I like to see would be a breakdown, clearly liquidating everything inside of here, okay? And if I see a shift and a pullback, I'll actually take buys into this level again, this 55,000 area. All right, this will be the next target that we'll be looking at for Bitcoin. And if prices do not liquidate all of these positions now, then I'll be looking for a breakout of this area, then maybe a pullback into demand zones inside of here before moving up. Because you can see that this wick down over here actually liquidated lots of places, right? Over here, trend lines, whatever, right? So people are actually selling inside of here already, okay? Hoping prices to move down. But if we see a breakout from here, this creates the sell to buy move, which then can take a demand zone inside of here for buys, okay? So next up, we have the Euro Pound. So we actually took trades over here, right? We actually found buying opportunities inside of here, and we actually wanted to take another trade over here. So can you see that as prices breaks this level, we identified a demand zone here, and we expect prices to actually tap into this area after liquidating the equal lows over here, right? Give us a break of structure, leaving behind a range for us to catch, right? Because if prices breaks out and immediately taps into this liquidity zone over here, then we do not have any participation, right? Because prices already take profit, right? Prices are already at our TP area. And that's why when we expect prices to break this level, we want a pullback into demand zones to catch a buy with enough range to give us a 1:2 or 1:3, right? So that was the initial trade idea. But you can see that prices didn't give us the move that we wanted. It was just a projection and a bias, right? So if prices breaks down, didn't give us any sort of a shift in structure, then we do not take the trade. And that is just that simple, right? So instead, we actually took a trade over here previously, right? We took one inside of here and one inside of here. So we actually send this on our trading view. If you haven't followed, please follow us on our trading view. So over here, this was the approach to the market, right? When prices came back down all the way after liquidating all of these areas in terms of trend lines, can you imagine how many people are actually buying inside of here? This is a perfect trend line that break out of structure. Prices are being delivered higher. We have higher highs, higher close, and whatsoever, right? and there are a lot of people who are trying to buy here. And you can see what happened, right? It all got liquidated, pushing prices towards the last refined zone over here, right? So can you see that as prices taps into this area, we do not just buy it immediately, right? We wait for a shift in structure, right? We wanted prices to confirm that, okay, we have higher intentions of moving towards the next liquidity area over here, correct? So as prices shows this shift in structure, we are looking for two buy areas, right? The first one will be here, which is the refined zone on the 30 minutes. And the next one will be the origin of the breakout move, right? So this is also another demand zone. And we will risk, since we have two buy limit positions, we were actually risking 1% each. And over here, you can see prices stopped us out on the first trade, losing 1%. And for the second trade, it actually netted us about 4%. So you can see that how it works, right? Over here on the 30 minutes time frame, we actually had buys over here. I think it was another 15 minutes time frame. I'll buy. Yeah. So it was actually a 15 minutes refined zone over here. So this was our first buy, right? And we have stop loss below this level, and we're aiming for this area, right? Because this is the next liquidity. And as prices came to this demand zone, it actually just smashed through, and we get stopped out over here, losing 1%. And our second entry was over here, stop loss below this level, and you can see that we have our first target over here, right? So this net us about 2.8%, and we actually partialed over here and aim for the next high. So at this point of time, we weren't sure if prices wants to break higher high or make a move down to clear this trendline liquidity, right? And that is why we always partial at previous high over here, right? So as prices reach this area, we were concerned on whether we want to see a breakout or a complete reversal from here. And as soon as we see a candle breaking out over here, we were pretty determined, or we have a determined bias that prices wants to reach over here, right? Because we have a new shift in structure, and there are two things that prices can do. Okay, so let me just use the replay button. So at this point of time, we were then confident that prices are going to reach this area. Okay, so that was our bias. Okay, and there are two things that prices can do. One would be to come back down on the lower time frame, tap into this demand, give us a shift and reach prices over here, right? And the second one would be prices breaking down into this level, meeting deeper areas inside of here before shifting towards this area. So either way, we were looking for an upside move towards this area, right? And luckily enough, prices just smashed through and continue moving towards this area. And that is how we catch this trade, right? So moving to the real trade idea, you can see that prices are being delivered to us in a very bearish manner, right? We have a strong sell move inside of here, and this area is likely to be liquidated, right? So if you go to the daily time frame, you can see that on the overall structure or the overall position of where we are heading to, we have a very nice break of structure over here, okay? Leaving behind what? A demand zone that prices are looking to move towards, right? We have a low being liquidated, lows being liquidated in terms of trend line, lows being liquidated, trend line liquidity as well. Then we want to see a breakdown tapping into this area, perhaps something like this, a break. Then we can aim for higher highs over here, over here. All of these areas are actually your potential target for a daily time frame euro pound trade, right? So let's go down to the lower time frame on the 1 hour. So you identify that our next range would be here. So this would be our take profit areas, right? So once prices breaks this level, next week, if we see a clean break over here, we can expect prices to shift into the supply zones inside of here, or maybe here, right? Before moving down. So this is very clear cut, right? If we see a clean break down over here, we have two areas to sell. One would be here, and the other would be the higher one over here. Okay, so look for sells. If we see a clean break, pull back, sell, or pull back into here, then sell. Okay, this will be our target on the daily time frame. This is a daily demand zone. Okay, remember that this is a daily demand zone. So this was pretty similar to USD You can see that on the daily time frame, we have a huge shift in structure breaking out over here, then a slow climb or slow pullback towards a demand zone left behind. So if you go to the USD trade over here, I think it was a weekly one. Yeah. So on the weekly time frame, you can see that prices actually broke out of this level, right? Give us a move down over here, right? Tapping into a demand zone left behind, right? And this is how we actually caught the USD trade over here. So this was a weekly time frame. We actually aimed for this level instead, right? We partialed along the way over here. So this was the initial trade idea for USD So since we are at the USD trade, we will just talk about it. So we have a clean break of structure over here, right? Showing us that prices wants to move higher, right? Into where? Into this supply zone, potentially. Okay. So on a daily time frame, you can see that we have a demand zone here where I'm actually looking to buy from. Okay. And over here is the supply zone, which is our target. And you can see clearly prices liquidated this area, failed to make a higher high over here. You can see prices liquidated this area, moves down, taps into supply zones, and break down. So this tells us that prices wants to go lower for the time being, right? This is a break of structure over here. Alright, so we are looking to sell here for sure. Okay, if prices comes back up, go to the lower time frame, look for distributions. And if prices give us a break and a shift in structure, sell, right, all the way towards this area. Why? Because you can see that we have a huge imbalance inside of here where prices are likely to fail. Okay, so prices may come back down, tap into this imbalance, give you some sort of a move up before breaking down. So you can expect prices to move perhaps this way, right, into this area before moving down into our demand zone over here. Then look for accumulation, right, to move higher. Okay, so the problem with this is that on the weekly time frame, I'm not actually going to sell here because this sell didn't break major structure, right? If this supply zone breaks this structure, then I'm actually looking for sells, okay, at this point. But since this supply zone didn't break out of the major structure, then I'm actually not interested in sells. But you can perhaps still expect some bounce over here into buy moves over here to push prices higher. So this is the projection for the USD CHF. So the next pair that we'll be talking about would be the USDJPY, the dollar yen. So we can see that prices are at a supply zone, right? So this was a tricky one because as prices makes its way up, taps into the supply, give us a nice breakdown, right? And this made us believe that prices wants to go lower, right? And as prices continues moving up, this was just a creation of liquidity, right? For lows to be created, highs to be taken out later, and tap into perhaps some sort of a supply zone inside of here on the lower time frame, then break down. So we actually took sells over here, okay? And expect prices to break lower, then continue the bearish formation, right? All the way down towards here, or maybe here, here, or here, right? So instead, prices actually made another move up. You can see there is a secondary push up that liquidates all of these areas before a true breakdown. So this is actually the real breakdown because you can see that there is a clear shift in structure. There is a slow climb up, liquidating the last possible positions inside of here, then a shift and a breakdown. So our bias for USDJPY remains the same, which is bearish. We are still inside the supply zone, and as long as the supply zone doesn't get invalidated, we are looking for sells. So can you see that we are looking for a pullback into perhaps some sort of a supply inside of here or here on the lower time frame before moving down, right, towards this area at the least. So the liquidity that we are targeting would be here. Okay, we are actually aiming for this area because you can understand that prices still broke out of major structure. So the immediate time frame that we're looking at is still possible to buy, right? You're still waiting for prices to come back here, give us accumulation before potentially breaking higher. So this buy zone is still valid. Okay, and that is why we do not aim for a clean breakdown. And if prices wants to break down, we will just simply wait for the breakdown, right? We'll wait for a breakdown, then a pullback into supplies to sell. So you don't always have to extend target and expect it to break or hope that it breaks. Okay, you let prices lead to you, right? Tell you what to do. Okay, so now that we have determined a bias that we want to sell into this area, you drop down to the lower time frame and you can identify a few supply zones. Okay, so we have one over here, buy to sell move inside of here. Okay, or maybe you can even refine further into this. Okay, this buy to sell move, where if we look on the 1 hour time frame, okay, if we see a pullback into any of these areas, give us some sort of a shift, we can sell it with our first target over here. Okay, this is our first liquidity area, and of course ultimately aim towards this level, then continue breaking down, maybe something like this, break down, standard order flow, right? So target this area and see if prices wants to move higher from here or continue the bearish structure, eventually breaking down. So lastly, we have gold, and you can identify a nice supply zone here. Okay, and you can see prices actually taps into this area perfectly, right? So let me label this. This is the supply zone. Okay, so prices makes this first move, all right, and this is called the stopping action. Okay, tells you that prices are actually attracting sellers into the market. Then prices actually made a secondary push up, liquidating trend lines over here. So can you go to the 1 hour time frame? You identify that this is a trend line liquidity, right? And prices actually grab them, tap into our supply zone, and we are looking for a clean breakdown. Okay, so you can see that this is a break of structure. Okay, and people are actually looking to sell already, because for those who likes to use wick as a break of structure, it really depends on you. Okay, so if you go down to the 30 minutes time frame, you can actually expect sells inside of here, right? So if you're aggressive enough, you can wait for another move into this area, tapping onto the supply zone, then shift, breaking out of structure, pull back, or sells, liquidating all of these areas. But if you're looking on a higher time frame perspective over here, you want a real shift. So what do I mean by that? Look at this tap over here, right? The low that created this high starts from here, and you want a clean break out of this level. Okay, so if you're on the 4 hour time frame perspective, you want a breakdown from here. Okay, leaving behind supply zones where you can actually look for selling opportunities inside of here. Shift, test, breakdown, aim towards these lows over here. So this would be the trade idea on the higher time frame, right? Because you want a clean shift. So if you were to view this again on the lower time frame, then yes, you can actually look for a break of structure over here, which you already did. Look for prices to shift into these areas. Look for sells, right, inside of here, expecting this trend line liquidity to be taken out for prices to move lower.